Once a proud genre of dread and despair, now a carnival of jump scares and tired tropes. Most of today's horror films have become as predictable as a cheap haunted house. You walk through a dark hallway, something jumps out and screams at you. You continue forward, amused but ultimately unfettered, then leave wondering why you paid for the experience. Come to think of it, that sounds a bit like my last few dates. In vampire movies, what was once a symbol of pure terror, a creature lurking in the shadows, embodying death itself, has been reduced to teenage love stories and sentimental anti-heroes. What a bore, a total and absolute bore. But then, like a bat emerging from the crypt, comes Nosferatu, a film that promises to restore the vampire to its rightful place, not as a tragic heartthrob or quirky anti-hero, but as a predator, a force of nature. So join me as we sink our teeth into this modern reimagining of a horror classic, a film that ventures to be atmospheric, chilling, and dare I say it, unsettling. Does it succeed, though? Or does it succumb to the cinematic daylight of mediocrity? Well, I've got the answers. I am the Pompous Critic, because someone has to be. Nosferatu, the reimagining of the 1922 silent classic, brought into the modern era by Robert Eggers. Set in the shadowy realms of 19th century Eastern Europe, the story follows Thomas Hutter, a naive real estate agent dispatched to the remote, crumbling castle of Count Orlok, a reclusive nobleman who seeks to purchase property in the bustling port town of Wisborg. From the moment Hutter arrives at Orlok's isolated fortress, it is clear that something is amiss. The Count, played with grotesque elegance, exudes a primal menace. His gaunt visage, claw-like hands, and unnervingly slow movements, evoking a predator stalking his prey. As Hutter uncovers Orlok's true nature as a vampiric predator, the Count sets his sights on the idyllic village of Wisborg and Hutter's wife, played brilliantly by Johnny Depp's daughter, Lily Rose Depp, whose ethereal beauty becomes both bait and salvation. Eggers elevates this haunting tale with his signature attention to historical detail and atmosphere, diving deeper into themes of obsession, corruption, and the eternal battle between light and darkness. The film is a Gothic odyssey of terror, dripping with dread and existential malice, as Orlok's looming presence becomes a chilling metaphor for death's inexorable march. In this new rendition, Eggers dares to ask, what if horror isn't about jump scares, but the slow, inevitable realization that we are all, in the end, prey to forces beyond our control? It's rather refreshing getting a film like this today. In this masterful reinvention, the vampire myth is not just revisited, but revitalized, its fangs sharper than ever. Now that we've summarized it, let's dive into the review. Of course, we'll be using the Cinematic Connoisseur's Compendium of Aesthetic Judgments, or CCCAJ scale, which, as we all know, is the de facto system for evaluating a film's worth. Our first category, cinematic vision. Eggers approaches Nosferatu with the intensity of a barista perfecting latte art. Meticulously precise, borderline obsessive, and fully convinced the world will never be the same after witnessing his creation. Eggers' meticulous attention to period detail and atmospheric dread is palpable, crafting a tableau that is both homage and innovation. The chiaroscuro lighting, the oppressive architecture, the pervasive sense of doom all coalesce into a visual symphony that would make Murnau himself weep with envy. While the journey to the film's climax is wrought with tension and atmospheric brilliance, the denouement feels almost startlingly subdued, as if the film itself, much like its antagonist, simply withers in the light of resolution. The final confrontation lacks the operatic crescendo one might expect after such a sustained buildup of terror and psychological unease. Instead, it unfolds with an air of inevitability, offering closure without the emotional catharsis such a tale demands. While effective in maintaining the film's somber tone, the ending leaves one yearning for a final visceral moment of terror or triumph that never quite arrives. Therefore, it earns 15 out of 20 points. For the second category, performances. Bill Skarsgård embodies Count Orlok with a grotesque elegance. His portrayal a dance macabre of predatory grace and existential melancholy. Lily Rose Depp's Ellen is a study in ethereal fragility, her descent into the vampiric abyss both haunting and hypnotic. Nicholas Holt's performance as Thomas Hutter is a masterstroke of restrained naivete, his every gesture and expression capturing the uneasy balance between curiosity and dawning terror, as though he were a man slowly realizing he has wandered into a waking nightmare. Willem Dafoe gave yet another brilliant performance as Willem Dafoe, therefore earning it 13 out of 15 points for this category. Category 3, Screenwriting. The script endeavors to infuse the skeletal narrative of the original with a marrow of psychological complexity and thematic profundity. Alas, it often succumbs to the very anemia it seeks to cure, with dialogue that oscillates between the portentous and the perfunctory. The introduction of subplots concerning Ellen's mental turmoil and societal repression are commendable in intent, but falter a bit in execution, leaving one to ponder whether less might indeed have been more, therefore earning it 12 out of 15 points in this category. Category 4, Cinematography. The cinematography is where the film ascends to the zenith of visual artistry. It's one of the most beautifully shot films I've seen in some time. Jarin Bleshka's cinematography is a master class in the interplay of light and shadow, rendering each frame a Gothic painting of sublime morbidity. The use of desaturated color palettes, interwoven with stark monochrome, evokes a liminal space between reality and nightmare, a fitting canvas for this tale of the undead. The aesthetic of Nosferatu is as haunting as its narrative. Eggers immerses the audience in a world of oppressive gloom, with towering castles, fog-drenched forests, and dimly lit townscapes serving as a visual symphony of dread. 15 out of 15 points for this category. Now for our fifth category, pacing and editing. The film unfolds with a deliberate cadence of a funeral march, its languid pacing a double-edged sword that enhances atmospheric immersion while testing the viewer's endurance. Editing is judicious, yet one cannot ignore the occasional descent into protracted sequences that, much like the undead protagonist, refuse to die. It works well for the first two acts, but by the third, when you'd expect the film to pick up the pace, it doesn't. This contributes to the somewhat underwhelming conclusion. For this particular category, 10 out of 15 points. Category 6, Score and Sound Design. Now, as a true audiophile, I'll tell you, the score of a motion picture plays an insurmountable role in the mood and ambiance of the film. A bad score can ruin a damn good film, and a great score can elevate a mediocre one. The auditory landscape of Nosferatu is an aural phantasmagoria, with Mark Corvin's score weaving a tapestry of dissonant strings and haunting motifs that burrow into the subconscious. Simply and horrifyingly delightful. The music really is both terrifying and beautiful. The soundscape, composed of dissonant strings and eerie whispers, heightens the tension, making even the smallest creak of a floorboard feel like a harbinger of doom. Therefore, 10 out of 10 points for this category. Category 7, Cultural Significance. In an era where vampires have been defamed into brooding romantics, Eggers' Nosferatu reinstates the creature as a symbol of existential dread and primal fear. It serves as a stark reminder of the genre's roots, a cinematic exhumation that challenges contemporary audiences to confront the macabre without the comforting veneer of glamour. 7 out of 10 points. With all that said, the CCCAJ score for Nosferatu, 82 out of 100 points. A commendable effort, flawed, but undeniably noteworthy. And there you have it, Nosferatu, a film that proves horror can still haunt, vampires can still terrify, in cinema, when placed in the right hands, can still leave us spellbound. Whether you found it masterful or maddening, one thing is certain. Robert Eggers has once again made something unforgettable. Thank you for joining me on this cinematic journey and trusting me with inculcating you with the paramount knowledge and wisdom you need to be able to make an informed cinematic decision. I am the Pompous Critic, separating the sublime from the subpar. Go forth, enlightened.